Hey, thanks for dropping by and checking out this message. These lessons come from our Sunday gatherings at Victory Christian Church in Franklin, Indiana. Our 5th through 8th graders meet at 9 or 10:30 a.m. and our high schoolers meet from 6 to 8 p.m. If you find that this content brings value to your life, then please consider subscribing and hitting that bell so that you can be notified when we upload our next message. Our hope is that this video brings more clarity into your life as to who God is and what He wants for you in light of who Jesus is and what He's done for you. Enjoy and have a great day. Did you know that there are several definitions for rhythm? In fact, if you look at freedictionary.com, there's like 7 different definitions for rhythm. But most of us, when we think of rhythm, we think about music, right? We think about keeping a beat, or the white guy who can't dance because he's got no rhythm, which is usually me at weddings, and so my wife runs away from me. Or maybe you think of like band in a certain section in orchestra because they are percussion people. So I need for an illustration, I need like 4 volunteers who would consider yourself creative and can kind of keep a beat. 4 volunteers. 1, 2. How about 2 guys? 3, 4. Come on up. Okay, we're gonna do a little rhythmic activity here. Do you guys ever see Stomp?
Nope.
No. Anybody heard of Stomp? Maybe it's just something I watched when I was in band when I was growing up. I don't know. Okay, so here's what we're gonna do. You're gonna start by making a very simple beat. Do you know what quarter notes are?
No.
A quarter note is just one beat. So I want you to just do a beat. You can stomp, you can clap, you can do whatever, but just a simple beat. And go. Now I want you to contribute to it, but you can't do the same thing he's doing. So you keep going, now you add to it. There we go. And you add to it. We got some beatboxing up here. Now I need somebody to drop a beat. Who can rap? Anybody? No, I'm just kidding. If you don't. Okay, this section you're going to add to their beat. So keep going as loud as you can for those of you who are beatboxing. Anything you want to contribute to the beat. How about this? You guys do this. You guys ever play the rain game like at camp? You guys contribute. Can you guys handle snapping? No, I'm just kidding. I can't do that. Okay, good job, everybody. Give a round of applause for these brave volunteers who came up here and decided to share their rhythm with us. See, here's the thing about rhythm. Rhythm is actually really comforting, and rhythm has to do with music and keeping a beat and all that, but it doesn't have to be. Put simply, rhythm is something that is routine. It's something that can happen the same way in a predictable manner. Does that make sense? Rhythm is something that happens the same way in a predictable manner. So you can predict that if someone is clapping on the beat, that they're going to continue clapping off the beat, and they're not going to just like, because that's not predictable. You know that a beat is predictable because you can join in with it. That's what makes rhythm so cool, is people can join in and people know what to expect. And how many of you are the kind of people who absolutely want to know what to expect at all times? You don't like to be surprised. How many of you are those people? I am one of those people. I do not like to be spontaneous. I like to have a plan. How many of you, though, you're like, plans are for nerds. I like to do what I want when I want. Okay? It's about half and half, which is true for Chelsea and I. I'm the let's do things the way we planned like 3 months ago when we talked about it. And she's like hey, in an hour we should do this. And I have to I've worked on it. I've tried to get better. I've tried to be more flexible because I'm a routine person. And sometimes I get angry when I don't even stick to my own routines. Anybody relate with me on that? Like you even get frustrated when you don't live up to your own routines. But see, a rhythm is something that we each have kind of built in even to our weeks. How many of you, like, you have the same days that you go to school, right? Unless you're homeschooled and then you don't go to school, right? Because, no, I'm just kidding. Just a joke. So, like, when you have Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, you go to school. You have a schedule. Maybe you have the same classes on Mondays and Wednesdays. Maybe you have like the same routine every week with your schoolwork. Maybe your home has some routines. Like for me growing up, every Thursday morning was trash day, which meant every Wednesday night when we got home from church, it was my job to take the trash down to the curb. And so there was routine at home. And with that, maybe your family has like a night each week where you have dinner together, or something like that. Maybe you have a game night. I don't know. But our families, they have rhythms to it. And even if you're in sports or choir or band, if you any kind of extracurricular, there's a rhythm to that, right? And when you start that rhythm, it can be really difficult because that means you are changing. It means you're going into a new rhythm. You're starting something that you weren't previously conditioned for, and you have to do all the boring stuff like suicides. You guys remember suicides? Is that just a Missouri thing? Okay. So like I hated it. It meant that we were getting in shape. We were getting back into a rhythm that we had been out of. And just like you've started school this last week and you're getting back into a rhythm that you were previously out of, it's boring at first. It's painful at first because you don't like having to get back into the rhythm that you've been out of. And especially because you don't see the results at first, right? Like at first you're just in practice and you're like, why can't we just do more scrimmaging, right? Because scrimmaging is way more fun than doing all the suicides and all the drills. Let's actually just play the game. And many of you want to get that place with God. You want to feel like you're in this great place with Him, but you don't have the rhythm to back up the feeling yet. At first it's really hard and it's really painful. And it takes time to get there. It takes that rhythm to get to the place that you want to be. And by the time, fun fact, my senior year in high school, by the time I was a senior, I was an 8 for 10 free throw shooter, which the NBA is 75%. So I passed up opportunity to be in the NBA just so that I could come and talk to all you lovely people. So you're welcome for that. But the same is true in our walk with God. It takes getting into that rhythm. It takes actually putting our faith to practice and doing the things that seem like a checklist at first, that seem like we're not actually getting anywhere. It seems like that homework assignment that we just have to get through and do. And most of us, if we're honest, this seems even more difficult because most of the rhythms that you have right now are established for you. Right? You've got coaches that tell you when you need to come to practice and what drills you need to do and what you need to be doing on your own time. You got teachers that are telling you what you need to do homework-wise and assignments that you need to finish. And you've got your parents at home that are trying to establish a rhythm for you and tell you when you need to go to bed, when you need to get your homework done and all that kind of stuff as well. And so rhythms just seem no fun at first because you don't have the end result yet, but also because right now for you guys, it's being established for you. And you're like, I can't wait till I can actually establish my own rhythm and my own schedule the way that I want. But you're just not there yet. And so that can be frustrating. And so when it comes to your relationship with God, a rhythm honestly just feels more like work. Right? You go and look at your list and you're like, practice free throws, check. Practice my saxophone, check. Flip through my Spanish flashcards, check. Do stuff to grow closer to God. Working on it, right? And it kind of gets thrown to the back burner because you're not graded on that like you are on your homework assignments. And you're not graded on that like whether or not you show up to practice. And so it seems kind of not as important. And so it's really easy to fall out of those rhythms when it comes to God, especially when we don't feel any different. If things don't feel any different, then we often give up. Oh, maybe you try to get in a habit of reading your Bible every day or praying or doing all those Christian things and you did it for like a week or two, but then you didn't really see all the results yet, so you just kind of stopped. And maybe it wasn't on purpose, it was subconscious, but you just got out of the rhythm because it wasn't quite established yet in your life. And it's so hard to stick to rhythms long term. That's why nobody sticks to their New Year's resolutions after January. But man, when that happens, it makes us start to wonder, is there something wrong with me? Is there something wrong with my relationship with God? Am I not doing this right? Because it seems like everyone else around me seems to have it down okay. Maybe you're thinking, who cares, right? Why does it matter? It's basically like, I'm never going to use math ever again once I graduate, but I've got to get through that right now. Maybe all this Christian stuff is the same way. Maybe it doesn't actually affect anything in my real life. It's just something I'm supposed to do to develop character or something right now. And I understand why you would feel that way. But what do you do when your walk with God starts to feel more like a rut than a rhythm? And honestly, guys, that's what we're going to talk about during this whole series. It's a 5-week series, and I'm so excited to go through this because it is so applicable to us today. And it's so applicable in almost every stage of life because we're always fighting to stay in that rhythm with God. And so throughout this series, we want to give you some practical things to help you establish that rhythm. And luckily, we have some examples throughout Scripture that show us just how that's done. And the one we're going to talk about today is there's this guy, probably a religious leader, who's coming up to Jesus, and he knows the Torah, or the first 5 books of the Old Testament. That's what they're known as. And they were known for all the laws, like Leviticus, Numbers, Deuteronomy. That's all the laws that God passed down to his people, all the things you're supposed to do to be godly. And so out of all these hundreds of rules, this guy asks Jesus a plain and simple question. He goes, hey, and probably like you and me, has a lot going on. He's like, if I were to, what's the best commandment? What's the most important one? If I neglect all the others, what's the one that I should actually stick to? And Jesus answers this. If you've been in church for longer than 5 minutes, you've probably heard this response. He basically says, love God and love others. That sums up all of the other commandments in that right there. It's love. And you look in when it comes to our relationship with God, you see that he was all about relationships. He was all about developing relationships with his people. And Jesus said, I'm the picture of God. If you've seen me, you've seen God. So God is ultimately about relationship. It's not so much about the laws. The laws were about establishing a rhythm, but I want a relationship with you that goes beyond that rhythm. And so Jesus, this is what he says in Mark. He says, love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your mind, with all your strength. In every area of your life, no matter what you're doing, every area of your life should reflect your love for God and your love for others. And that's what he says. Everything can be summed up in that. Simply put, God loves us and wants a relationship with us. Nobody argues that this is a bad idea. But it's really difficult to actually live that out. So let me put it to you this way, a way that's a little bit easier. Think about your closest friends, your best friends. We played a game earlier about, back to school topics, and you and your best friend tried to say the same thing, right? When it comes to school supplies, you and your best friend know each other, so what's the one school supply you both would know? What's the cafeteria food you both know because you've talked about it and you've experienced it together. You know your best friends, and when you think about your relationship with your best friends, you're not like, oh man, how I love this person with all my heart, my mind, my soul, my strength. You don't think through it that way because that's kind of ridiculous, right? You have that relationship with them and you don't have to think about those things. It just comes naturally because you've been in a rhythm with that person for so long. I mean, think about this. That person was at one time no more than an acquaintance to you. But you became friends through shared experiences. Maybe you shared a class together. And so every day you had that repeated rhythm together and you sat next to them and you exchanged conversation and you became friends. And then it all went downhill from there. You all just became close. Maybe it's through a repeated rhythm like a practice or rehearsal or whatever it is, and it's that day in and day out that's over time, you just develop that relationship with each other. Now you're the closest friends because of those experiences and because of that repeatable rhythm, those over and again moments. And the same is true with God. Your relationship with Him is a byproduct of time spent together. So your relationship with God grows when you're in a rhythm with Him. And at first you don't feel the effects of it as much because you're still establishing the rhythm. But then over time, your heart, your soul, your mind, and strength, they all start to align with God's desires, and you start to have this kind of relationship with Him that you feel that, and you know that you can't live without because you've been in this rhythm for so long. So my advice to you would be don't give up just because you're not feeling it. Just like any other skill that you have, it took practice to get there. It took practice, it took a rhythm to get to where you are now. The same is true in your relationship with God. It'll take time, it'll take practice, it'll take a rhythm. So don't give up just because you're not feeling it, right? And the goal here, this is what separates the boys in the faith to the men in the faith. This is what separates childlike faith to adult faith, right? The goal is not to just establish a rhythm. Okay, we're really good at stopping there, but if we stop there, it's basically no more than a checklist. We become really legalistic that way and judgmental towards others when we look at it that way. We're not just trying to establish a rhythm, okay? The rhythm is supposed to develop something in you. The goal is not to have a rhythm. The goal is to have the rhythm develop something in you. A closer relationship with God. With a God who loves you more than you could ever imagine. And that's what we're going to be talking about during this series and this whole semester. We're going to give you practical steps to do that. But it's going to take some work on your part. It's going to take establishing that rhythm. I hope you guys stick around for the ride because I think it really will be worth it. A relationship requires rhythm. So you need a rhythm in your relationship with God. I know that that's much easier said than done, and I know that that takes work. And that's why during worship just a few minutes ago, we had you fill out that card that was, what are your goals for the semester and how do you want to get there? It's meant to help you see where you want to be and imagine that. And to take a practical step, what's one thing that you could start doing right now consistently that will give you the results you're looking for, that will help you achieve your goal for feeling closer to God by the end of this semester? And I know that as high schoolers, sometimes you need some incentives. So let me tell you a little bit about what we're going to do this semester to hopefully help motivate you to show up here week after week as we go through this stuff and hopefully help you develop a closer relationship with God and establish a rhythm. See, we've got these buttons that have rhythm on it. It's our series logo. And if you show up to here, that's why we want you to sign in every week, because if you show up here and sign in, and we can keep track during every series this semester, if you show up for more than half of the weeks that we're doing this series, so this series is a 5-week series, if you show up to 3 out of 5 of them, you'll get a button at the end of this series. And for the first button you'll receive, you'll also get a lanyard. And like, how many of you are driving? Right? You've got your own car now. Maybe you've got the keys to your mom's van and you drive it around like I did in the party wagon, right? And I had an August birthday, so I got my license before everyone else in my class. So that's how I rolled. But maybe you use that lanyard for your keys, and this is just a daily reminder to be in a rhythm with God. And you put that there. Maybe you don't like lanyards. Maybe you want to use this for your ID at school or something. I don't know. If you don't like it, you can throw it out. But maybe you can put this on your backpack instead. I don't care. The point is just to motivate you and remind you what we're doing. To be a daily reminder. And if at the end of the semester you have at least 3 buttons, meaning you've shown up to at least half of the weeks here, then you're going to win some prizes, all right? We got some gift cards. Actually, let me know what gift cards you want, and I'll go buy them. So we'll have gift cards for you. We'll have some scholarship opportunities for like our retreats or the CIY coming up in the summer. Those are expensive things, and if you want a chance to get some scholarship, then just show up. And we'll also have some other prizes. You're going to get something. So show up, and if you come to over half of the series that we're doing, you'll receive the button at the end of that. So that's just, it's kind of just to motivate you and hopefully inspire you to get here and to be a part of this Christ-centered community, because the reality is you can't do it alone. So show up, be a part of a small group, be a part of community. I love you guys. I'm so glad that you came here tonight. Let me pray, and then we'll go outside and we'll get started having some fun. Hey, hope you enjoyed this video. If you liked it, give it a thumbs up and make sure you're subscribed so you're notified when we upload future videos. Have a great day.